The rain fell in endless sheets over the small village hospital, a somber drumbeat to the rhythm of Amara's life. She stood by the window, her worn shawl pulled tight around her shoulders. The world had never been kind to her, a poor black woman with no family, no fortune, and no future. That's how she was seen. But hidden beneath the quiet exterior was a heart overflowing with strength and kindness. She was a cleaner at the hospital, her hands scrubbing floors she could never afford to walk on as a patient. One morning, her life took an unimaginable turn. She overheard hushed whispers between the doctors about a young man named David Williams. He was the heir to a vast fortune, now lying in a coma after a devastating car accident. His family, clinging to a strange old belief from his late grandmother, was desperate. They believed that a true love's vow, a symbolic marriage, could awaken a sleeping soul. They were searching for someone pure of heart, someone who had nothing to gain, to marry him. When Amara's name was suggested, the hospital staff scoffed her, the cleaner. But when David's family met her, they saw past the worn-out clothes. They saw her gentle eyes, her honest spirit, and they agreed. Amara was hesitant. How can I marry a man who doesn't even know I exist? She whispered, her voice trembling, but the weight of her reality, no home, no family, and crushing debt pressed down on her, and she reluctantly accepted. The wedding was a hollow affair, held in the sterile silence of the hospital room. There were no flowers, no music, no joy, just the steady hum of life support machines and an air thick with pity. Amara stood beside the motionless man on the bed, his face pale yet peaceful. As she placed her trembling hand over his, she murmured, "I don't know you, but I promise. I'll take care of you as long as I can." That promise became her sacred duty. Days bled into weeks, and weeks into months. Amara's routine revolved around David. She cleaned his room with meticulous care, changed his sheets, and read stories to him, her voice a soft, constant presence in the silent room. She spoke to him as if he could hear every word, sharing her simple thoughts and quiet hopes. Soon, the nurses began to notice something strange. Whenever Amara was near, the machines monitoring David would shift, his heartbeat would steady, his breathing would deepen, but Amara dismissed it with a gentle smile. "It's just a coincidence," she'd say. Every night she prayed for his recovery, not because she expected a miracle, but because it felt right to hope for someone else, especially when no one had ever hoped for her. Then, one quiet afternoon, her world tilted on its axis. A doctor delivered the news with clinical detachment. The family had decided to transfer David to a facility abroad. Her duties were officially over. A profound sadness washed over her. She approached his bed one last time. Tears she couldn't stop tracing paths down her cheeks. "Goodbye, my husband," she whispered, a sad laugh catching in her throat. "I guess this is where our story ends." Before she turned to leave, she leaned over and pressed a soft, gentle kiss on his lips. It wasn't a kiss of romance, but one of pure compassion. Thank you for giving her purpose, for reminding her what it meant to care. In that moment, she felt it. A faint, warm pressure against her hand, a squeeze. Her breath caught in her chest. She looked up, her heart pounding. His eyes were open. They were weak, confused, but undeniably alive. Doctors rushed into the room, their voices a chorus of disbelief. He's awake. He's breathing on his own. Amara stood frozen, tears of shock and joy now streaming freely. And then David's gaze found hers. His voice was a dry, hoarse whisper, but the words were clear. You, your voice. It brought me back. In the months that followed, as David slowly recovered his strength, he learned everything. He learned about the symbolic marriage, about how this quiet cleaner had cared for him with a devotion born not of duty, but of genuine kindness. The more he learned about her, the more his own heart healed, not just his body, but his soul. He saw in Amara a richness that money could never buy, a love that was selfless, pure, and unconditional. Years later, they stood together again, renewing their vows. But this time, it was by choice. Amara wore a simple white dress, her face radiant with joy. David held her hand as if he never intended to let go again. Their story spread far beyond the small village, a testament not to fairy tales or miracles, but to the profound power of human connection. It was a story about how one person's selfless act of compassion became the spark that reignited another's life. From that day forward, Amara's name was no longer spoken with pity, but with awe. She had been poor in possessions, but she was immeasurably rich in love. And in the end, that was the only wealth that truly mattered. Thank you for watching this incredible story of love and compassion. If it touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content. See you next time.